tulenda nula pamuhinzo tulenda walibwanya kenani tulenda.
Welcome. Thank you once again for this rare privilege and opportunity that we can meet again on this platform. Re-Education Agenda for Africa is still our program. Like we've always said, we will not relent. We will not allow our voices to go to sleep until this agenda is fully executed. And so for some time we have been quiet, not because we did not want. We simply retreat, not to retract, but to simply regroup. As you can see with me today, as we begin this second episode of our Edupreneurship series, I am joined in the studio by Professor Kachamba and Professor Chipindi. Professor Kachamba, once again, welcome.
Good morning, viewers.
And Prof. Chipindi, welcome.
Thank you. Greetings, viewers.
I just went straight into mentioning their names because I'll be allowing them now to just give you a bit of what motivates them to participate in this program and just what they feel is of necessity in our agenda for re-educating Africa. And so, once again, I want to turn to Professor Kachamba. We've been on this program for some time, and now we have a lot to share. Prof, what is your word about this program so far?
I think that this program is important, especially looking at what the colleagues we met out there told us about the program and what it is advancing as thoughts, as aspects that can help us solve problems for this country, for our people, communities, and even institutions and systems. So I have a feeling that it has been a useful program from the point of view of the colleagues who have been talking about it to us. But I would like to believe that I personally feel that issues of human development go beyond the resources one has or the possibilities one has, because they have to do with a philosophy, how we think about ourselves, how we think about other people, and how we situate ourselves among other people. Our worth is not determined by what we say we are. It is by what people say. Hey, have you seen who they are? Do you know what they think about themselves? Can you see what they do? Look at the examples of their character, their behavior, and their way of just operating in terms of planning things, of designing things. So we are also judged by other people, and I believe that the time for us as Africans to continue to play the victim card, wherever we go, we want someone to be sympathetic about us, or to show that, people love us. Sometimes we overthink about these things. Sometimes we underthink about these things. So I feel that this program has been useful because it has been coming out clearly on certain things. And where we have not been clear, colleagues told us and said, on that point, you need to be clearer. Yes. So I learned a lot from it, and viewers, I'm very, very thankful, colleagues who have been listening and viewing this program.
Thank you. That's Professor Kachamba, one of the key discussants who has been so much on the side of making clarity on this program. And with me again is Professor Chipindi, another scholar in the informed source of wisdom that we would love to engage with as we continue on this program. Prof, you are very much welcome, and would love that you can say a little something about yourself and just your motivation to contribute to re-educating Africa and just this issue of edupreneurship as you sit on this program. Prof, your word.
Thank you so much, Doc, for the opportunity, to engage in this sort of conversation. As you have correctly stated, I'm Ferdinand Chipindi. I'm an associate professor from the School of Education in the University of Zambia. My research interests lie at the intersection of, identity.
Yes.
Currently I'm animated by, the conversation that is going on both in the academy and beyond around the issue of decolonizing the mind. And so that's where my research interest. So I'm very excited to be part of this conversation, and I hope to learn more as I also share some of, the ideas that, we can tap into collectively as we, try to chart a way forward.
Interesting, Prof. Interesting. And the one thing that I want to mark, you are propelling the agenda of decolonizing the minds of Africa. And we also are saying we have to re-educate Africa. So we seem to all agree on something, and this is what makes this whole episode so exciting and interesting. And so to our viewers, if we can make any promise that you can enjoy out of this program, it's the fact that we want a certain kind of African, we want a certain kind of Zambian for the Zambia that we want. And we cannot have any Zambia without first dealing with a Zambian. And this is what brings us to this program. I am your host and concept generator, Dr. Norman Kachamba, and you actually see us now in this season through and through, and you'll be experiencing quite a number of researched information and dealing with the issues that are so real. We are not here to beat about the bush. We are here simply to propel the process of transformation, and if anything, transformation cannot take place without proper information. And this is why you see us here as the voice of academia. Now, to begin our program and just to set the premise for our discussion, as we've always done, I would love that we quickly get to the authoritative word of God. And today we are going to delve into the issue of educating for business. We have been educating about business, but we feel now it's time we educated for business. And after all, education is business in itself. If anything, I do believe, Prof, that education is business, and business is life, and life is business. So we just need to carry ourselves that mind. Whatever it is that we do, we must actually be business-minded. It be theology, we must understand that God is in the business of saving. Redemption is not just a word that just falls from anywhere. It is a business transaction. And so we cannot just talk about education away from business. And this is why I'm saying we are now educating for business. So allow us now to delve into the issues of today by getting to Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29, as we discuss the issue of education, or educating for business, if you like. Now, my dear viewers, young people, if you are in school, this is an opportunity that you can sit and please see how you can transform your subject into business ventures, and just how whatever subject that you are taking in your school, secondary, primary, university, should be viewed in the lens of business. Now listen to this from Proverbs. Proverbs is a book that is written by a renowned philosopher, Solomon, King Solomon. And he has written quite a number of proverbs. And as we know, proverbs, I'm sure Professor Hassan is going to speak to that. When you say proverbs, what is it that you are referring to? Now, here is what is said by Solomon with regards to the education for business. 22 verse 29, the Bible says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low ranks. That's a very loaded proverb. A loaded proverb. I want to repeat Proverbs 22 verse 29. The NIV version says, do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. You know, serving before kings is not just a matter of being connected to the king. Bible says you should be able to see somebody skilled in their work. They will serve before kings and not before officials of low ranks. Nowadays, they will not be garden boys. They will not be, if they were garden boys, actually, there will be garden boys in palaces. Not garden boys along rivers that are easy run dry in villages. No. Solomon is so categorical about people who are skilled in their work. Prof. Cassandra, Proverbs. Let's begin first by breaking down Proverbs. Nearly every tradition, every tribe, there is a way that they try to communicate gems of wisdom. Can we just have your comment on Proverbs?
From the point of view, first of all, why Proverbs? Why do people use Proverbs? I would like to believe that a proverb has something which is said about God. That God is not only sensitive to the past, or sensitive to the present, or to the future. He's all time. Now, what that means is, if something is proverbial, it means it will be true several years after, or maybe forever, because it cannot degenerate. It cannot have had a meaning then, and now it is different. And that's why sometimes when we listen to Proverbs that Jesus was teaching, people get amazed at the truth that is in it today. And I think what I learn, and I hope many of us have learned from Proverbs, is that these things we call history. Say in Zambian curriculum, you say, no, history. Some even say history is not important because they are demarcating time, not realizing that the past is linked to the present and you cannot foretell the future unless you have an idea of what the past was, what the present is, in order to determine what tomorrow is going to be. So proverb for me is about learning, not lessons, but learning from the lessons we have had. Because these are alive today as they were then and as they will be.
Proverbs. Yeah, I like that. Prof. Chipindi.
Yes. So, yeah, as Prof has said, Professor Cassandra has said, Proverbs, these are, carriers of a message. Huh? Proverbs, a proverb is a carrier of, it's like a capsule, a capsule of knowledge. Normally it embodies something that is deeper than what you get if you looked at it
on the surface
value. Yes.
Yeah.
So it is something, there's a message in there that, I feel very mesmerized to listen to the great philosopher, King Solomon, and the words of wisdom that he shares. The idea that the skilled people are going to serve in noble places, and this appears to have, speaking of philosophy, it appears to have, provided the impetus for, the idea of the academy in ancient Greece. In Greek philosophy, we speak of the academy, the beginning of, the earliest manifestations of what we would call, a school. Now, in Plato's academy, I think the role of the academy itself, let's call it a school, was to elevate the skill set of the population. Okay, to elevate the skills that the population has, the better that this population can then serve what Plato called the republic. So Plato is able to draw a direct line between the quality of the citizens and the character or longevity of the state. The state is going to survive only to the extent that the character of its people is well nourished, well lubricated.
I'm getting excited by the way you are really decomposing this proverb, and how we are breaking it down. Notice, dear viewers, that we are talking about educating for business. And the proverb comes out so strong and so loaded. And as my dear professors are now trying to break it down, we seem to be getting to a point to say, if you should see a state that we can call a state of noble status, it is a design, or it's a function of the kind of skill that the statesmen possess. And I think it's bringing us some very interesting point, that if you want to come up with any beautiful state, a nation of noble character, then look to nowhere but how much of the skill have you put in its people. Prof. Kachamba, I think you are about to add something.
Well, especially when you think that there has to be a very tight relationship between governance systems and the skills that the citizens possess. Because a skill that citizens have is not expected to be for their own good only. It is for everybody, and this is why I think in the Old Testament you had references to kings and chancellors ordering their induners to go and look for the best mind out there to come and advise. It's because there's always a relationship between ideas and the functions that the ideas play when it translated into operations and into activities. So it's very important that when you come to Proverbs, because of their nature and the message, the importance of the message they carry, as my colleague was saying, if you use a proverb, you should be understood by all. But again, and this is where now you have a danger of having lost out on proverbs, because people think, no, these were for old days. So to communicate deeper thought, deeper meanings, we lose that and begin to think that a skill or knowledge or understanding is not as useful as it is when you listen to proverbs, including in any language actually. You realize the importance of knowledge as the beginning of wisdom.
And so even as we get deeper there is a very serious connection between the skill people possess. Now, can we just have a little something, some more light thrown around the skill, skill sets? And you remember in our systems of education, there are skills centers, there are academies, and you know who we actually consign to go into skills training schools, skills whatever, and who we take to vocational pathways, and those who go to universities. So now, something very serious here, very serious dichotomy that is coming out here, that we need to address strongly. I see a very serious problem here. There are skills people. Those skills people have to go and work with their hands. Then we say they are skilled. Those that work with their hands are skilled. And these are the people that can. What's your comment, Professor Achpindi?
Yes, I mean, so, it's a dichotomy actually, the dichotomization of the whole educational enterprise. And so the removal of the skill set from, from the main, what we would call the mainstream. You know, you have the vocational pathways, you have the academic pathways, which sort of feeds into this dichotomy of, you know, that skills have to do with, you know, manual work. You know, you have to use your. It's inferior, actually.
Yes.
That's the impression that is created, and yet we are coming upon the realization that this might not necessarily hold, and we need to build, I think, a closer alignment between our education system and sort of the what kind of a citizen do we want to produce to come out of our school system? We want to have a citizen that is very good at memorizing the facts, the so-called facts, or they want to have a full package of, you know, somebody who has the competences, they have the skills, they have the mindset to be able to confront all manner of challenges. I think the answer is entirely up to us.
True.
Prof, skills.
Yeah, for me, really, the moment we talk about skills and we place a barrier between skills and abilities and capabilities, intellect, reflection, thinking through things, planning, and we say you are academic, and this one will be vocational. You have actually killed education. It means we have gone back to schooling, where we say, you are skilled in this, and they perform that skill. But the day ideas change, new ideas come in, they find that skill which he had is no longer viable. So he has to go back to those who have knowledge to be retrained. That's why we have training almost since 1964. You are training people on something where if they had ideas first, they would have been generating their own new skills independent of the source where the original skills came from. So that's why I agree with my colleague. The moment to vocationalize something is to deprive some people of thought processes, of designing things, composing things, designing, thinking it through and reasoning. And you say, no, you just master a skill. You are creating new slaves, actually.
And so when you look at this, creating new slaves, I like that. When you look at this whole thing, before we take a break, it's very important to emphasize, you know, the biblical wisdom that we are getting from here. It's about recollecting and reconstructing a human being into some creature that is holistic. What our school system have done is simply to fragment and disintegrate. And so we go and start existing in silos and the like, because others are labeled as skilled, and these others are academics.
Silos.
Like. So we just need to get down to a situation where we should now look at what is it, when we talk about skills, how do we classify the skills? Can we really do without skills? No. Because probably we can talk about conceptual skills, for instance. Then we have these technical skills. These will go together. These go together. So in our, as we discuss, dear colleagues and the viewers, we are still emphasizing the need for us to become holistic. We should not settle for this disintegration, where we should have, well, we appreciate the fact that there are trade schools, but we cannot run away from the fact that that is kind of a shaky foundation, which we must reconstruct. Absolutely. And build up a Zambian and a Christian that we want to see, who is holistic. And so this scripture actually highlights the value of excellence and the skill in one's work, suggesting that educational institutions should not only impart knowledge but also hone the skills and talents of individuals, preparing them for significant opportunities and entrepreneurial ventures. This is what we are emphasizing in this first part. So please do join us after this break. We are still trying to break down the business, education for business, and not just information about business.
Jala mujimange mwe mubuhige kabapenga mwijipite wambaja Mose kabagushe Faro wabapeya balajairwa kubwela shikoji Mose kabagushe Faro wabapeya nguluza mwami mutalabala kemba mwami kuna mese kuna magungwe muhuni ulazandaleza aze ulaguzanda ulatuzanda tonse wale managemba mwami watuma impeyo shandene kashihinga kumwami Faro ajabagwe sutubalege gembo latumana balatubonya malweza baba bagwe sutubalege gembo latumana wabuya Faro umebanige tulayoba majembele bamenesu bana besu lubono lwesu wahumina Faro nijijisa gumozo bagenda bapopenkalagi bagenda gabaya wimba bagenda bashige ajizabugilo jamulonga azuma magani umbelendwenge mumbali mapili bajebuge mwinu magutumbaga huko inkalagisha Faro cheshoshe izalubilo tashiria tanshi kagulilu mbinji bobo buzuba wezwa yangaminawa ubalila mbanji ogogowowo Mose watu yaya
ulambaleza Mose uwe
kanabigagasa mehi
malele ngazo
aliunga mumabali mehi bonse bagaita balanduga bana baisulaili
anyigenzu muwatumbaga hugo
basegelela basotauga
anyigenzu muwatumbaga hugo
shalile ngululu alila malimba baimba bamutemba ula muhuni bana Faro balijenge gwita bana Faro bubagalo babonse bubagalo bamulonga muholelwa umukagalo banonse numulwa na jikombelo jaleza bana baisulaili bagenda gabaya wimba bagenda ulimwi mukanda azuma magani
obalila
langa Mose watupeya uswe tukalawila mukanda mono tulashiga lili mukenani wala mpamuhinzo twalema malwa himbwe inyo twabona inzala atuyoge Mose uwe twaimba matuli ya mazani mabishaza miso ya eji kashirisha kusowa mwijipite wendo lwa bana baisulaili kalulilwa mapehi wendo lwa bana baisulaili kalulilwa mapehi nguluza ndo mwami wabapai gumbi kubasololela
mashigu
wabapa mulilo wabapa mana apongo kamwiwe bonse banwa bazumana na wenda kanjila munyiga ya jishomyo kwita musana shamuhuni pamubona Kenani bagala jagulinza tuli mumuhizwa swe tugabone Kenani wawize ulu tugagale gulinza tulenda nula pamuhinzo tulenda walibwanya Kenani tulenda.
Welcome back. We have just laid the foundation, and my able professors have actually labored to just to break down and decompose what is contained in the proverb, which is the premise for our discussion. And so we now are getting to issues that should account for educating for business. Now, as we look at education for business, there is my young person there who is doing something that in our tradition, as long as it does not carry the term business, it cannot even sit down to listen to anything and does not see any. As long as it's not business, it can't even talk about profit, what benefit accrues out of what they're doing. Let's begin from there. My prof, Prof. Spindi, educating for business.
Yes, and so I think it all comes down or back to what Professor Kachamba here said, that, you know, when the base is weak, the foundation, what is it that you have erected your education system on, right? If the base is weak, then you run into problems. Eventually you have to go back to rescue yourself because of the absence of, you know. So the idea, I think, is to build this sort of education on a solid rock of ideas. The idea that the idea has to be at the base of the skill set, so that, you know, once you have put the mindware in place, the mindset, using the ideas, you have put it in place. It means that the products, the graduates of the system will be able to generate their own skills. And, you know, when we talk about skills, it's not like we're saying there's a set of memorized sequences.
Very important. Very important.
We're talking about how dynamically, flexibly someone responds to different, diverse stimulus in the world of work. And this is only possible if the foundation is strong. The idea, Professor Kachamba says the idea.
The idea.
I think we should come back to that issue a bit more.
Prof, you can nail it now. Educating for business, ideation.
Yeah, maybe I would even say, where we normally say as academics, theory and practice, I would rather say theory with practice, to link ideas to whatever practicality. I think, Prof, what you're saying in Zambia is interesting. Colonial education said Africans are good for just manual labor. You know, they don't need theory, because, you know, what will they do with physics and chemistry and metaphysics? The things are beyond them. You know, at independence, we complained that, look, we have been too practical, because we had the Hodgson College, we had the Chalimbana, we had many institutions which were just doing bricklaying, plumbing for Africans. So we said, the secret of success is in what Muzungu learns. So that's how at independence we went to chemistry, physics, and so on. Surprisingly, I don't know how many Zambians knew that by now we would be again saying, you know, we have been too theoretical. Let's go back to practical. But then when you say theoretical, how many theories have we generated as Zambians if we are that theoretical? So the confusion, I think, is we come back to the fact that people develop not because they have resources or money, because they share a philosophy of life which they wanted to implement. And the moment we are confused at the level of philosophy, then it means the Greek would not have thought through all these things. The whole world looks to Greece and to Alexander and Egypt those days for guidance. Not practical, but ideas, and how these fuse into concepts to create an imaginary, if you want, or idealistic reality. That idealism is what filters down into realism. And then you see things which are real, you touch, you eat, you become a consumer, but you don't even realize that there's someone thinking through everything that you are using. And that's where we have created a discrepancy between theory, theoretical knowledge, and practice, thinking that they are different. But we're just weakening our learners, actually.
Interesting. Now, I want us to focus on our learners. You know, our learners are the ones that have now found themselves in a world of confusion, because what they get from the industry is something else. When they get into the classroom, they have these careers guidance teachers that are telling them something else. And when they come out, they get more disoriented than before they enter the classroom. And so here is a chance that we need to really try to rectify and correct these situations. And in the context of educating for business, what business would there be in history? What business would there be in a civic education? What business would there be in theology and religion and chemistry? What business? And if we say we should educate for business, how would one sit really in the business world with chemistry? You understand that even our distribution of subjects in schools nowadays, you find these are in a pure class. There is no mention of commerce, no mention of accounting. And here we are talking about educating for business. And one comes out, they are so misplaced. And they look out for opportunities. They are told if you have to be in management and should have done some business administration and whatever. But then, should we limit business to business administration? And this is the issue now that we are facing.
No.
Yes, Prof.
We shouldn't. What we should probably understand, especially as Zambians, is the fact that when we talk of business, we're not talking about knowing how to do business counting or just accounting for something.
Buying and selling, trade.
Incredibly,
yes.
In business, we are talking about religion. For example, there are certain value systems that we have to embody, to share.
Yeah.
Business is about trusting one another. It's about understanding one another. It's about sharing certain concepts, certain
You can say that
feelings.
again, Prof.
we need, business is the civics, because there are certain sensitivities. In business, there are relationships to be created. And these relationships come from interacting historically. Where are you coming from? What is the message you can get from this other colleague? Art. What are you going to compose or design if you don't think about the fact that in business, not only do you have to find what you have as a product, because you need productivity in business. You need marketing of your product. You need to provide the service to others. The others who are providing a service will give you something which will help you to be profitable. And from that profitability, you can be talking of prosperity which you will share with others. So if I am not aware, Dr. Kachamba, that there is any subject which is not relevant to business education. We all relate to one another. We all want to collaborate with the others. We all want to respect one another, to believe in one another.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in one another, you can never do business together.
That's it.
So what do we mean by saying business is just accounting and accounting?
That's a very powerful point. Prof, you can nail it.
Yes.
I can see that one.
Yes, I mean, it's quite tragic, I think, quite tragic to narrow down business to the act of simply buying or selling. I think we would be missing a very complex, set of factors that have to be considered. As the Prof has said, there's more into it. So I think when we say education, business education for business, what we are trying to say is, look, this learner that we are trying to create. I don't know, even creating sounds a bit awkward for me because it translates into some passive. We are more passive. Yeah, but anyway, whatever. The idea is there is more to business than you can collapse into the act of transacting, buying or selling. For instance, the issue of, Prof said the ideas. If you look at the idea, everything that has ever been accomplished in the world of commerce, the wonders of science, everything that has happened, it all starts with
The idea. Yeah.
The idea is what carries the day. So let's take the example of the plane, the first aeroplane by the Wright brothers, who flew the first plane to fly across the English Channel in 1902, was flown by the Wright brothers, two brothers, who were actually specialized in manufacturing of bicycles. So you can imagine, from the manufacture of the bicycle, they have an idea, right? The manufacture of the bicycle, top speed was, I think, 24, the bike was, I think, 24 kilometers per hour. The plane, the first plane that flew the channel was 42 miles per hour. But now look at how this idea has traveled. Today we are talking of Airbus A380, a 7-story plane moving at a top speed of 1,500 kilometers per hour. A huge jumbo jet. I'm told it cannot even land on certain airports because the sound of it will shatter. It will shatter the terminal, the building, the airport terminal. Now, the way the idea has traveled from 1902 to the present, this is the message that we're trying to package. To say, look, let us provide a capacity in these individuals, a capacity to, to do certain things that are good for business, the world of business. For instance, opportunity recognition. Does the child have the capacity to realize, the child that comes from an education system, does it have the capacity to say, to recognize the opportunities that are inherent in almost all, they say every cloud has a silver lining.
That's it.
Everything. Everything has a business line to it that can be exploited. The massive improvement of society, and if profit is the motivation, which is also again might be a bit too narrow.
Too narrow, yes.
But opportunity recognition is part of the package that we are proposing. That needs to go into our education system.
So
initiative taking, the capacity to say, well, any problem that you face, no matter how big, there is a positive side.
That's it.
So if we can build that capacity in the learner, then we are home and dry. There's no business that will not.
I like those very powerful insights from our professors. Dear viewers, if you are following us on this program, Education or Educating for Business, we are firstly realizing the very important aspect of an idea. And when we talk about ideas, when you get back to the Bible, you'll find where the Bible talks about, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God,
and the Word was God.
And then through this Word, everything else was created. Sometimes I've asked you deliberately to say, when you look at the creation story, what was the first thing that God created? And people would tell you, there was darkness, we created light. Then when was man created? He said man was last thing to be. No. The fact is that man was the first to be created. Because whatsoever that God was putting in place, he had already created man in his mind. When he came to actualize, to say now on the 60th day, everything that was put in place meant for man's enjoyment was in place, and man was just actualized. So the first thing that God created was not the light and whatever, it was man. Because whatsoever was creating for man. So ideas actually precede every other thing. If anything comes into existence merely by coincidence, then you have a problem. So there is always a way that it is conceived, then it comes to be actualized. And so as we talk about business, I like those two statements that professors have given. It's not just about buying and selling, trade and the like. No, business is actually the totality of life. It is the whole purpose of our existence, because within it there are relationships to be sustained. There is also an issue of trust, and there is also an issue of just benefits, the win-win situation that should arise from such. And this calls for the creation of skills and capabilities to be able to identify and realize in whatever they're doing that there is this thing that has to account for the good of others and also for my benefit. In physics, we have said there is a lot that we can mention. So we can just now get down into particulars about this subject, so that that child that is in a secondary school should learn to appreciate that there is business behind religious education, and actually business is religion, and the religion is business. To my colleagues that could be studying health is wealth, and so we cannot really detach these issues from that. Then I don't know what advice now we can give to our fellow parents, because sometimes it comes from our homes. As students, children are going to schools, they are coming from the communities, and the communities have certain established ways of looking at things. So to speak a certain language different from what is believed and accepted in that community becomes very difficult. And so when they get back, they have to go again to do things the same way they've been doing them, despite what we can talk about. What could be our advice to the community and the society at large as we look at education in the lens of business? I'll begin with Professor Chipindi.
Yes. And so, thank you very much, Dr. Kachamba. So when we look at the home school, that transaction of the home and the school, and how we really need to closely align these two spaces as pedagogical spaces for the children. I don't know, 90% of the times I think people, I'm a professor, I'm an educated man, I'm a professor in the School of Education. But as recently as 20 minutes ago, I was picking up lessons on things that I had never before, even about education. It's because you might say, well, it's because of the field where you are in, but even about education itself, where, we're still picking up the lessons. So what we need to, I think, pay attention to is the fact that as the parents, the private entities, the school, and let's for the sake of this conversation, let us put the school on one side and the community on the other side. And then I think my message to the parent is going to be that in the times that we are living, the times that we're the 21st century, rapid advances in science and technology, explosion of information and communication technologies. If what we are saying here, the three of us and all the other communities, talking about an inbuilt business mentality in our citizens, if that is to be achieved, the parents have the role to play to allow the children, right, to complement the school, of course, in trying to raise children that are courageous, that they recognize opportunity. I think what they need to do as parents is to unleash the creativity of the child. And how do you unleash it? You allow the child to experiment with all manner of things. Just let the child, just unleash the child and let him, they have enormous creative potential, which is constrained by some of the barriers, the constraints that we erect around, how far they can experiment. We are too punitive as parents. I think I was brought up in the 80s I think we were punished severely for things like, in school we are punished for speaking vernacular, or for making a mistake. When you put up your hand and then everybody shames you. Shame, isn't it?
Thank you so much, Prof. That's very interesting. You know, how we are brought up is brought something very interesting. Prof, will you just add one thing? Professors emphasize the need for parents to really create an environment in which the children should really unleash their full potential of creativity. And I think that also works very well for organizations. You know, some organizations find that there is so much of bossy type of I don't want to call it leadership, where you think you must just command, you must be felt. You're worried about the way we can really unleash the full potential in the workers as leaders.
Maybe it's to recognize that it's not some people who are in business and others are not. We are actually all in business.
Yes.
Because business, I think, is the best indicator in terms of us knowing that we cannot be alone, and we don't live alone. We live with the others. And somehow, even indirectly, there is always something we sell to others in terms of communication. They get from us, we get from them. It's sharing. Business is sharing. And the other thing we would say is business is linked to education, because business is about not just now, as my colleague was saying. No, it's about long term. It's about planning ahead. It's about identifying a talent today, nurturing it, and hoping to reap many days after. But we tend to be so short term here, and we don't even remember that if we are doing business together, our education system needs to look to check our belief system, because that's where we have belief sets. It needs to check our mindsets, because they also matter. We can't do things without using our minds. We have also to check with the heart sets, the things that we feel. Volunteering, for example. Why do Zambian young people say, no, we don't volunteer, we are not like Bazungu? That's not true. It's just that our education system has ignored that aspect, thinking I should be paid for everything I do, which is not actually quite right, because there are many things we can discuss in other fora. And finally, there are the handsets, which we make, which we see made, created. Now, where are these coming from? It's from sharing ideas, sharing what happened, what is happening, and also writing about what may happen tomorrow. I may just write, but someone may even see a picture of what object should be created with the hands tomorrow. But the idea would not have come from those people. Like my colleague was saying, those two Wright brothers, bicycle mechanics. How did they get into a plane? So if we stifle ideas, we continue to think only those who are in academics own ideas, and the others can be given skills. Oh my good Lord, we have killed the African countries.
Well, viewers, it cannot be said any better than it has been put. Educating for business, and it is our appeal that from home to school to organizations, that we dress our minds in a business jacket and begin viewing reality that way, that everything after all in life hinges around business. And if we are to use issues of profitability, wealth creation as indicators, yes, they are just among the few things. Life is just business. So to educate without a focus of business is simply to hit below the belt. And this is what we have actually pointed out. And this in itself should translate into how we learn. How do we organize and package our lessons? And this is why we should always relate what we say to what is actually happening. The experiential learning, the adaptive learning, and all those approaches to learning. And so to those of you that are in school, please, when you're given assignments, it's moment to go and reflect and see exactly how what you're reading applies in life without really waiting upon somebody to guide you and teach you deliberately. So in this first session of our discussion, we have looked and emphasized the need for 21st century to be educated for business and not just about business. Don't miss, join us once again with my two professors. With me as your concept generator and host for this program, Dr. Norman Kachamba. See you next.
Tulenda nula pamuhinzo tulenda. Tulenda walibwanya kenani tulenda.
Did you know that you've got the right to complain against any radio or television broadcast? Did you also know that every radio or television station has an obligation to respond and address your complaints when aggrieved? The first step is to complain to the station not more than 3 months after the broadcast took place. It is expected that the station will respond reasonably to you, that is within 14 days. If not satisfied, then escalate your problem to the Independent Broadcasting Authority.
We're at Mass Media Complex, Ali King Carter Road, PO Box 32475, Lusaka, or call us on +260 211 250589 or visit our website at www.iba.org.zm. IBA, promoting ethical and professional broadcasting.
Friends and family, following the presidential declaration of the drought as disaster and an emergency which has resulted in hunger situation in the country, ADRA Zambia, Seventh-day Adventist Church at union level and other supporting partners are responding to this emergency by supporting affected families with food rations and water point provision for domestic use and crop production. ADRA Zambia is appealing for more support to reach out to more families. Every donation, no matter how small, will contribute to our collective efforts to mitigate the impact of drought and support our communities during this period. Together, we can make a meaningful impact and support our communities during this difficult time as we save humanity so all may live as God intended. To donate, reach us through our email info@adrazambia.org or call +260 767 327